Hey everyone, welcome to a special episode of the Orange and Black Insider Bengals podcast. We have a special guest, part of our ongoing, continuing NFL draft coverage, brought to you by New Era Caps. You can see, if you're joining us live on the video, I've got the draft hat courtesy of New Era Caps, and we have a special guest brought to you by New Era. We'll get to him in just a second. I am joined by a special guest co-host on the show, James Clayton, who is joining us from London. And he was instrumental in setting up this interview opportunity as well as some others. So we wanted to get him on. James, how you doing, bud?
I'm fantastic. Pleasure to be here.
It's great.
Kind of surreal. I mean, I've been watching the show for the last 2 years. You guys talking about and evaluating draft prospects, and it's just awesome to be on and be active in the process.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you've taken on a producer role for the program, and it's been great. We've had a number of good guests and a number of high-profile guests thanks to you. And one of those high-profile guests is joining us. He is from the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, defensive end Alex Highsmith, looking to enter the draft this week, a big week for him. Alex, how you doing?
Doing great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate the time. I know it's a weekend and you've got a big week ahead, so we appreciate you taking the time to chat about us. Just to kind of start off in general, I just hope that you and your family are doing well during this odd time around the world. So I hope you're doing well. I assume that you are, since you're on the precipice of such a big week, professionally speaking.
Yes, sir. I'm doing good. I've actually been in Charlotte right now, but just came up here yesterday. But the past month, I've actually been back home in Wilmington with my parents, and so it's been just an amazing time to be able to spend time with them, and they're doing well. Also, so we're just all trying to stay safe and do whatever we can. I've been working out. That's really the only time I've been going out places. Just to work out. I've been doing my social distancing and trying to do that to keep everyone safe. They're doing good as well. So they're just like me. They're excited and nervous. About this week. So just glad I've been able to spend a lot of good quality time with them. So on the bright side of all this, I'd say it's positive that I get to spend a lot of time with my family.
Yeah. So you mentioned the workout situation, which is an interesting facet to this whole backdrop of the COVID situation. How is kind of your pre-draft process, how has that been working out for you in terms of your workouts, how you're engaging with teams? I know it's kind of been Zoom interviews and stuff like that, and you've had a few of those. I mean, how have you found that working out? Because that's not the norm when it comes to the NFL draft.
For sure, definitely not the norm, but it's been good so far. Like you said, really ever since I can cancel the past month, that's really what it's been for me, working out. In the morning, afternoon, usually have those meetings in the evenings with teams and coaches and stuff. So, but I've had a good place to work out since I've been home. So, right after the combine, I came back to Charlotte, and was doing an internship with our strength coach and training for pro day as well. Everything closed down here, all the facilities and everything like that. And I was up here for a couple of days after everything closed. I didn't really have any place to work out, so I was like, I know I have some connections back home, and so I went back home. And my dad is a UFC fighter by the name of Derek Brunson. He's in the middleweight division, number 8 in the world right now. And my dad taught him in high school. It's pretty cool. So my dad reached out to him. My dad actually gave me his number, and so I reached out to him and said I could come train with him. And so I've been training with him the past month, doing cross training, boxing, working my hands and my cardio. And it's great cardio as well, the workouts we've been doing. So that's been great. I also have this guy named Terrence Williams, who's been training me from all the field stuff, position drills, linebacker work, footwork, agility. He plays running back at Wake Forest, early 2000s, and now he has his own training program in Wilmington. So it's been really good with him. And my strength coach from high school has been able to open up his weight room for me, so I've been able to have a place to live. So it's been really good. And then just with the Zoom meetings and everything like that, I've met with probably 15, 16 teams over the past month, and so those have been going really good. And so making the most of what I can, and just thank God for technology.
I just wanted to ask, because you've had a lot of video conferences, and I think you've met with all teams in the league. And I wanted to ask, with the video conferences, have you had any kind of recurring questions on positional versatility and how you feel you're going to transition into the NFL?
Yeah. So, like my versatility, I think, a lot of teams kind of questions that go into the combine, that's something I can do. I feel like, I was really cool with my linebacker drills is one of us, us smooth guys out there when it came to those things. Most of the teams I've been talking to so far have been 3-4 teams. I've talked to a good amount of 4-3 teams as well, but the majority of primary teams have been 3-4 teams. So, I feel like I can play both roles, 4-3 core outside backer or 4-3 defensive end, which, either or would be great. But I'd say most of the teams I've talked to have over the past month have been 3-4 teams.
Talking with Alex Highsmith, the University of North Carolina Charlotte defensive lineman, entering the draft this week and is looking to fulfill his professional dreams. Talking about your skill set, and watching some of the film and looking at some of the tapes of especially this last year, I was very impressed by a lot of things, and you have seemingly made a big jump as a productive football player over the last year, 2 years. 14 sacks last year. Some of the things that I saw on film, you set the edge pretty well in the run game. You chased down plays that were maybe, at another tier of the defensive level, and you made some good plays there. For those that may be unfamiliar with your skill set, what do you feel are some of your best assets as you are turning pro right now?
I feel some of my best assets, I think it's also my motor, my effort, to be a good defensive player, to be productive, you have to, that's something that you have to have, that's a quality that you have to have, that's something that can't really be polished, it's something that has to be instilled in you. I feel like that's just been instilled in me, for my whole life playing football, just make that extra play to get to the ball, and so I say that's something that, is a good skill set of mine, and not only can that help in the defense, but also in special teams as well. A lot of coaches have been talking to me, saying that I have an important role in special teams. That's something I take pride in because I know how important special teams are. So I'm just ready to contribute on that and on defense, any way that I can. And also just on defense, my pass rushing ability. I feel like I have a wide array of moves. I feel like I can mix it up in different ways. And not someone who just has one move. Yes, I do have a couple moves that I feel like my better ones that I go to most of the time, but also have other ones that I can mix it up with and throw guys off with. So I'd say those are my best two qualities.
Yeah, I guess I wanted to ask you specifically about a game you played against Clemson in your amazing senior year, where it was your first game against obviously Clemson, getting to the national championship. I want to ask you about going to Clemson, and I watched the game, and you took Jackson Common, who, if I remember rightly, was he was, I think, the top O lineman in his recruiting class, and you beat him on a snap by snap basis, and how it felt, going away and taking the game into your own hands.
He was asking about how it felt to beat one of the most highly recruited offensive linemen in Clemson. You were pretty dominant in that game.
It was a great matchup against him. Jackson, he's such a great talent. I feel like next year or wherever he comes out, he's probably gonna be one of the top tackles to come out for sure. So, it was really cool to just go against him and be able to play against that level of competition. I feel like he definitely made me better. Just watching film after, seeing things that I can work on and just be even better. But we really have a lot of mutual respect for each other. And that's God, I know I'll see down the road in the NFL for sure because I know he'll play in that level for sure. So I've got nothing but respect for him. And it was just a great matchup. He's definitely one of the best tackles I played against in my college career.
Talking with Alex Highsmith, the University of North Carolina Charlotte defensive lineman entering the draft this year. He is brought to us by New Era Caps. Happy to have him join us. He'll be joining us for another minute or so here. For those who may be unfamiliar, we talked a little bit about your skill set, and you may fit in 3-4 defensive schemes, some versatile looking defensive schemes, maybe some special teams ability as well. I want to rewind a little bit, Alex, and talk about your ascension to becoming a pro football player. You know, you started as a walk-on at UNC Charlotte, and now, you know, you're looking at potentially having a high-profile role with an NFL team right away. You mentioned your motor and your drive. Is that kind of the really determining factor behind this great rise that you've had? You know, you already had athletic background in baseball, et cetera. So I'm kind of curious, just because of your background, it's one of the cooler stories in the draft this year. I just kind of wanted to hear your thoughts and hear how you felt that played out for you.
You know, I'd say I can really attribute, you know, my success, you know, coming up, you know, these past 4 years to two things, really, you know, God's grace in my life, my work ethic, you know, and for me, what people know most about me first and foremost is that, you know, I'm a Christian, and my faith is what matters most of my life. You know, I want people to know that I'm more than an athlete, so, you know, I feel like, you know, that's what's where I am, you know, because I have a foundation, you know, outside of the game that, you know, no matter what happens, you know, I can still go out there and be the best player that I can be. You know, just my work ethic as well. You know, like I said, you know, coming in as a walk-on, you know, I've always had that walk-on mentality of just outwork everyone, just be the best I can be, and always had that chip on my shoulder. So that's something that's helped me. I remember when I got to college, I played inside back in high school, so I got to college and I never passed rush before, and so it was really bad at first. I remember our first rookie scrimmage, that's what we called them, just like veteran guys that didn't play. We always scrimmage every Thursday. I remember like how bad I was. I literally just ran into the offensive lineman and didn't even use my hand or anything like that. So really, you know, the past couple of years, really falling in love with the art of pass rushing, just, you know, really helped me to be where I am today. And I can really attribute, you know, my rise in production my senior year, my junior to my senior year to Coach Marcus West. He came from Minnesota this past year with our new staff, with Coach Gilly, and actually Coach Gilly at Austin P and Chattanooga. So I can attribute a lot to him, you know, because he's helped me just learn so much about pass rushing that I didn't know. Helped me so many different moves, and helped me just to improve little aspects of my game, like my get off, my bend, you know, that needed a lot of work. So I can just, that's what, you know, I attribute a lot of my success to.
Yeah, I guess I've only got one more question for you, and it's about, I think Charlotte as a program didn't have any players drafted from, I think, the merger to 2017, but since then it's produced starting caliber players in Nate Davis and Larry Ogunjobi. And I just wanted to ask if either of them have reached out to you or you've reached out to them, especially Ogunjobi, with you guys both being D-line.
Yeah, so definitely reach out to them, you know, a lot throughout this process. You know, those guys, you know, are definitely, you know, some of the best teammates I've played with. You know, there's some guys, you know, just really admire, you know, their work ethic, you know, just how they approach everything they do. You know, both of them are just, you know, really set the standard, you know, for our program. You know, the first two guys to get drafted, you know, so they really set the standard. You know, it's just cool, you know, following their footsteps. You know, I'm kind of trying to learn from them throughout this process. You know, what to do, and I'm definitely going to continue to hit them up and continue to, you know, ask for advice throughout this process. You know, because I know that the rookie year is going to be one of the longest years of my life. So I'm just going to reach out to them, you know, for advice. You know, just really to just, you know, to help me with some of that. But, you know, I'm just really excited, you know, for all this. So ready to just, you know, enjoy the whole process, which you know, like I said, it's been good, you know, to have guys, you know, to follow in their footsteps. And so I just hope, you know, that I can be inspiration or just really set a standard for guys that come underneath, the guys are younger than me that are coming out next year as well. So like I said, they've been a great help for me with this draft process.
Alex, big week ahead for you. We wish the best for you. What do you got planned? Are you know, you mentioned you're hanging out with your parents, and obviously, you know, there's not really much a lot of people can do in terms of going places and stuff right now anyway. But I mean, plans this week, or your plans this week as you get set to take this huge leap into your professional journey here?
Yes, I'll be back on the women's stuff going on for the draft. You know, my original plan was to have 30 people there, have a lot of my family and friends there. But, you know, that can't happen with everything going on. Just try to stay as safe as you can. So I'll get out my parents there, my sister, my girlfriend, my best friend Nick, maybe a couple of my friends. Just, you know, try to stay as safe as possible. You know, because I don't want to put anyone at risk for anything. So, but it'll be good to have, you know, some of my closest people there with me. So I just can't wait for that moment. Honestly, you know, I'm still thinking about all
Well, we're excited for you, man. And selfishly speaking, I'd like to see you end up on the Bengals. I think you bring a skill set that would really benefit the team. They're looking for, rotational pass rush help immediately, and obviously guys that can give some defensive versatility. I think they're looking to be more versatile this year. So selfishly speaking, I'd like to see you end up on the Bengals. We will definitely be keeping tabs on where you end up this weekend. If it is the Bengals, we'd love to have you back on if the program, if you're willing and able. But regardless, we hope this week goes well for you. We wish a long, fruitful, healthy career for you, and we appreciate you making the time for us today.
Of course. Thank you for having me on. Thank you.
All right. That was Alex Highsmith, the defensive lineman from University of North Carolina, Charlotte. Really cool guy. Seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders, James. And my tip of the cap to you, my tip of the cap of the New Era cap to you, Alex, came to us courtesy not only of James Clayton, but of New Era Caps, who is a sponsor of the program. Seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders, James, and a guy that really, to me, he seems like he's continuing to develop, and he's an ascending guy. The talent started to kind of seem to be mined out over the past year or two, but it seems now that, as he continues to learn nuances of the position, he gets settled in a specific scheme. He could be, I think, probably a pretty productive, at least rotational player initially for a team.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the truth's in the stats, and, he came on as a walk-on to a small program and finished as a redshirt senior who I think was third in sacks in the whole of college football. And obviously, if you can keep that exponential growth, then whoever gets him is going to get a stud. And I think he's, as well as the Bengals needing, rotational edge rusher help, especially, with Dunlap getting on. And I just think he's the character that someone like Zach Taylor would really go after in this draft, especially as he still continues to set the tone.
Yeah, good character kid, high character kid from what reports have said. And the interesting thing to me, James, last year the Bengals dabbled a little bit with Sam Hubbard kind of doing different things. Yes, he rushed the passer often and was an edge player, set the edge, but he also dropped back in coverage a bit. This is where, and the Bengals have since, in this offseason, flirted, really since last offseason, they flirted with rotational pass help, whether it was Shaq Barrett, whether it was, Chris Smith, who ended up going to Carolina. They were talking with Derek Wolfe. So they're looking for guys that can move around in different spots up front and get to the passer and do so regularly. This guy seems like he could be one of those guys, at least initially. You still got Dunlap, you still got Hubbard, but he's a guy that can move in there and maybe do a couple of things. He needs to learn some nuances and develop a little bit, but there's, 4.7 40. A lot to like with this kid. High athleticism, it seems like high IQ. I like this kid.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's a guy that can rush the passer very well. And as you were saying, with them now liking moving Hubbard inside on third downs, I think Highsmith's a guy that can come in week one and set the edge.
Seems like a guy, if you're wondering where he may end up in the draft, James and I, before we took the air, he maybe seems like one of those mid-round project type of guys because, he's got first-round type of tools, first-round athleticism, but, the small school thing, where's he fitting specifically day one on your defense? Some of those questions may have him, in those middle rounds, which is good because that's where you build your roster. That's where you build the depth on your team. I feel – I saw a recent 7-round mock from Chad Reuter of NFL.com. Highsmith coincidentally went 3rd round to the Ravens. It seems like a very Ravens-like player, one of those hybrid type of guys. So he had him as high as the 3rd round going to the Baltimore Ravens there. I think maybe you're looking more around 4, round 5 potentially, but, maybe – you said it, James, before we took the air. Teams are looking for pass rush help, even if it's rotational pass rush help at first. That's where this kid can help. And if he, as a rookie and is still developing, can come in as a rotational guy, get you 5-6 sacks right away in his rookie year in a non-starting role while helping out on special teams, that's a valuable player.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of nuance in scouting, but this is a guy that gets sacks, and on the whole, NFL teams like getting sacks. So yeah, I mean, I think it was, Ian Rappaport said that because of, the situation we're in, the media is getting it all wrong in terms of ranking players. So it's up in the air. I mean, I could definitely see him going, day 2 and even early day 2.
Yeah, you could. Well, we're going to get on out of here. Thanks to my special co-host and show producer, James Clayton, who is joining us from London. Thanks for setting up that interview for us. And I know you've got some more things that we won't say yet, because we don't want to overpromise and underdeliver type of thing. And obviously, some of these draft prospects not only have a lot going on this week, but they also want to see where they end up, to see maybe what appearances and stuff they want to do. But potentially, you have reached out to some folks, and some of these folks that the Bengals may draft could be coming on the program shortly after the draft. And I thank you for your work. I wanted to bring you on. Usually we have a co-host, John Sheeran. I wanted to give him a day off on a Sunday, but also I wanted to bring you on and thank you for your work. You've done a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and since you coordinated this interview, I wanted to get you on the air.
Yeah, no. Thanks for letting me on. It's been awesome. I mean, I wouldn't be able to book these guys unless I had, your podcast. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. I know John appreciates it. I know Cincy Jungle appreciates it. You may see James' name also on the Cincy Jungle website this week. We're trying to maybe get him some access to help us out with some writing, because there is going to be a ton to talk about this week with the Cincinnati Bengals, a ton. And we will be doing it on this show. We will be doing it on cincyjungle.com and the other podcasts in the Cincy Jungle podcast channel, Matt Minnick's Chalk Talk, Orange is the New Black, as well as Sorry If I Spit When I Speak by the two guys, Dr. Hoji Smoji and Daddy-O McDuke. So check out the entire slate of the podcast channel, including this one. Our thanks to Alex Highsmith, who was brought to us by New Era Caps. Go get your draft gear now. It's available online through neweracaps.com. It's available through Bengals.com and their pro shop, Fanatics, NFL.com. There's a whole bunch of different avenues. So go get your draft gear. It's pretty cool looking, sweet looking. You got the Houday on one side. So get the draft gear as you can. Thanks to Alex Highsmith. Best wishes to him. And James, thanks again to you. Hope you have a good week coming up. It's going to be busy for all of us.
Yeah, I'm excited, as is everyone.
Well, thanks again. And thanks everybody for joining us on this Sunday. Keep it to our podcast channel. We've got a lot of stuff just pumping out to you, including on the audio channel, the YouTube channel. Get the show how you can: iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, Megaphone, iHeartRadio, YouTube, cincyjungle.com. Appreciate all the support. We'll see you soon.